We're talking with C.R. Gittere, who's just returned from the 2009 Isle of Man TT. Was it more fun or scary?
I'd say it's pretty scary when the bike is wrong. When you got a bike that's jarring your teeth or trying to break you apart because it's too stiff, it's pretty freaking scary because the thing just won't stay on the ground. But once the bike gets set up to where it can get over the bumps and you can control the bike if it starts to get out of shape, then it actually becomes pretty fun.
What's your opinion of the veteran racers of the Isle of Man?
Guys like, you got Guy Martin, Bruce Anstey, Cameron Donald, John McGinnis, and those guys. They're all pretty smart guys. You know, you don't look into the rides and see the back of their skull. They seem to be pretty calculating riders. Very helpful. Every single one of them, if you go ask them a question about a certain section, they'll try to help you out. They'll take you for a lap in their car and try to show you around a little bit. It's a much different breed than most of the short course racers.
What was the atmosphere like?
Atmosphere at the Isle of Man TT is definitely interesting. A lot of beer gets consumed all the time. You know, everyone's out drinking beer, everyone's out having a good time. It's much more relaxed. I mean, if you think about it, they only close the course down for a couple hours every day, maybe 4 or 5 hours a day during a race day. So the fans only get about 4 or 5 hours. So what happens is the fans get up in the morning and maybe start to drink and have a good time, and then they make their way out into a hedgerow somewhere along the course and hang out with their beer and hang out with their lawn chair, and then watch the races and then make their way back to a beer tent or back to a pub or something like that. It's definitely a different kind of atmosphere, for sure.
Did you do any special training before you left to prepare?
No, just a little bit more dirt bike riding than average. Watched a lot of onboard videos that like David Jeffries shot in '02, Guy Martin shot in 2008. So just tried to study those as much as I could.
How was it different from racing on a closed track?
Completely different. It's a lot bumpier than a closed track. I think that's probably 1,000 times bumpier than the worst road, enclosed track you'll ever find. And it's lined with brick walls and 1,000-foot drops. So, one mistake on a Isle of Man TT course is a lot more costly than any mistake you'll ever make on a closed course.
Did you change your riding style at all for it?
Yeah. You don't carry the corner speed per se like you would on a closed course. You don't get the maximum lean angle that you would normally find, and you definitely don't trail brake as much. You don't want to be caught binding on the front tire or working on the front tire too hard, because if it starts to slide, you don't have time to recover.
Did you get much practice on the course?
Practice over there is a little different. Practice starts at 6:20 or so at night, and you usually get about 3 or 4 laps of practice in every night if you're really going pretty good. So that's about all the time there is. So, on a 38-mile racetrack, you only get about 4 laps in. So luckily we got almost every practice night in, so that was pretty good.
Did you set the bike up differently than you would on a regular course?
Yeah. On a short course, you can afford to have a little bit stiffer high-speed compression dampening and afford a little bit stiffer springs. There we try to set the bike up with as light of springs as possible so that the high-speed compression dampening could blow through the stroke. So we used low speed to keep the bike from moving back and forth when you were on or off the throttle to steady the bike, softer springs and less high-speed compression dampening.
What was it like jumping the 1000 on the roads?
It's definitely a little different than a dirt bike, and I guess that depends on what jump you're talking about. You get Baloff Bridge, that's the bottom end of second gear. You're going off that at maybe 25, 35 mile an hour. You get over to Balacry, and you're jumping off that thing at 175, 180 miles an hour. So there's a whole different perspective when the speeds get higher, because if you let too much wind get underneath your bike, it'll blow over itself.
What was the course like safety-wise compared to some of the tracks in the States?
It's definitely going to be more dangerous than any short course in terms of objects being close to your racing line. You go through Hambleys and there's a 15-foot stone wall on the outside of the turn on the entrance, and then you brush your shoulder against the wall on the exit. So it's definitely different in that respect. But I find the corner workers over there, the Orange Army, to be very professional, very well organized. They have 2 helicopters that are on standby all the time. So at all the major corners throughout the racetrack, all the corner worker has to do is press a button and automatically dispatches a helicopter directly to the location. No radio call needed, no nothing. Just press the button, helicopter gets dispatched. There's over at most of the time during race week, there's at least 700 corner workers throughout the 37.75 mile course, meaning every bike has to be within line of sight from the previous corner worker. So your bike is never, ever, ever out of sight from a corner worker. You know, there are a couple times I came up on some debris because, you know, when a motorcycle crashes, like at Union Mills or something like that, it's confined. It hits walls and bounces in between the two walls. So any debris or any parts from the motorcycle get relocated in multiple ways right there on the racetrack. And sometimes you may only have 3 or 4 inches to get through the debris because it's spread all the way across the road. So I find that the corner marshals do a very good job of letting you know ahead of time and letting you know what you're coming up on. And they're even crazy enough to jump out in the middle of the road. If they still think you're going too fast, they will jump out in the middle of the road and point their flag at you and make eye contact with you and tell you to slow down. So in that respect, as long as you pay attention to them and trust them, you'll know what's coming ahead.
What were the fans like, and how close to the action were they?
That's one of the most interesting things about the Isle of Man TT. There are places, you know, on the mountain and heading up to the mountain that you can literally brush your shoulder underneath somebody's pair of shoes. They can literally stand there 3 or 4 inches from you as you come whizzing by them at 200 miles an hour. They can literally reach out and touch you as you go by. And I don't know of any other form of motorsport that's like that. I mean, it's ridiculous that they can get that close, and they don't move. I mean, I have no fear that person is going to jump out in front of me, because if they do, we're both dead. You know, so it's definitely interesting at the locations where they allow the fans to sit and how close they can get to the action. That's, I think, what makes it exciting for them.
So would you do it again?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think most of the time for a newcomer or someone that goes over there for the first time, they tell you your job is to go out, learn the race course a little bit, and find out if you like that style of riding and find out if you like the race course. Then if you say, yeah, I like it, yes, I have the aptitude to learn it and the ability to ride this type of racetrack, then you can make the 3-year commitment it takes to learn certain sections like the 13th milestone, Bishop's Court, and some of those places where, you know, it takes a long time to figure out where the bumps are and how to get through them at speed, because they're very, very narrow and they're very, very fast. I mean, there are certain places at Bishop's Court where you're 6th gear flat out 180 miles an hour and you have 6 inches of pavement you've got to hit. Otherwise, you're either into a curb or into a hedge. And if you get it wrong, the consequences are bad. Or if you roll the throttle off, you've just lost 15 or 20 seconds in a lap time, because you'll never get that speed back or that distance back. So there are certain sections that take 3 or 4 years to learn.
We'd like to thank Sierra Gittere for coming back for the Isle of Man TT 2009 and talking to